Welcome! Woo! Can you guys hear me out there? I mean, geez, I got to make sure because sometimes I've been told I have a very soft voice. And
I like that accent.
Sometimes I break into accent and it's like a mix between a British and who knows what the fuck it is.
Did you say what the fuck it is?
What the fuck it is, my good sir?
All right.
Welcome to Big Money Stylist Podcast. We are so excited to be here with you guys today. We have Ani.
Hello.
We have Miss Val. Woohoo! And we have Garrett J. White.
Why did you say it with such little fire and passion?
You always get a drum roll.
Whatever. Everyone got a drum roll but me. Just barely
sorry.
said like, hey, where? What do you mean? All right. Well, where are we at and why are we here?
Where we are in the Big Money Stylist podcast room, and we are here to share more value with you guys. This is our third. Is this our third or fourth?
Third show.
Third show. Currently, number one. Ani, give us the stats on that.
So we are currently sitting number 1 in fashion and beauty, number 4 in all of arts, and number 142 on iTunes.
Ooh.
Apparently, there's a lot of stuff on iTunes.
Val's like, is that good?
How many podcasts are there?
Are there 12 podcasts and we're 142? Val, give us a little thought here on this whole thing that you are a podcast co-host. Is this what you imagine that you would grow up and become?
Always. I knew it. This mouse voice was made for the radio.
I'm just in it for the headphones.
Oh, I love it. Okay, well, we got some topics to get underway today as I figure out the clicker. If you're watching this on video, we have changed up some things so that we can see everyone. Because the last couple episodes, as if you're watching this on video, you have seen nothing but the microphone stand and a bunch of hair sticking out from the mane of Coach Val.
Oh, that's my best angle is my hair. Thank you.
Well, your hair does look fantastic. So we're going to jump into today's topic, though. And last week we talked about power, and this week we're going to talk about production. So we're going to do our little definition game. You girls ready for a little definition game? We're going to start with the Wikipedia on the team. We're going to come on down over here to Coach Ani. Coach Ani, what do you got here for this idea of production? What is production to you?
Production for me is doing the actual work. It's whatever you're aiming for, whatever your goal is the work involved to actually get there.
All right. I like it. We're getting started well. Let's come over here to Danielle. Danielle, what do you add to this? Besides the fact that your microphone's like blocking your camera angle a little bit right there. There we go, right there on that side. Okay, good. What do you got for us here on this one? Production. 3, 2, 1, off you go.
Production. Life is a production. It's all about, everything's a production. No, production, I think what we're trying to get to, production meaning like money, business, right? Correct? Am I correct on that?
I am not the teacher of this classroom. I am simply looking to you for answers. There is no right answer.
Production, I'm thinking production as in like being profitable. That's what I think of production.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're being profitable. That's what we're being.
Profitable, like production. That's how I look at it.
Okay, beautiful. Val, let's come to you. What do you got here? Remember, your camera's right over here, so just in case you want to look at your fans and let them know that you have a face. You're not just a giant hairpiece with a microphone. Okay, what do we got? Production.
Production's like, to me, the doing of things. So last week we talked about power, and that's kind of like a mindset, but production is like a verb, like doing.
Okay.
The doing of shit.
The doing of shit. Welcome to the doing of shit. All right, so here's the deal. Most of us were not raised as producers. Like, this was not something normal. Most of you were not raised with parents who were entrepreneurs. I wasn't raised with parents who were entrepreneurs. We're going to talk about this whole idea of how you were raised economically and what that looked like in money. Because I'm having to consider that inside of your hair business, that the way you were raised around the topic of money also affects how you deal with the conversation of production. Actually, the ability to go out and do what is required to get paid. So we're going to, I'm going to go ahead and start with the Puerto Rican.
I like it.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready to come all the way to the island of Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
Born in Puerto Rico, la mujer y artista aquí del equipo que puede hacer el idioma español y también inglés y va a compartir con nosotros su historia de cómo nació allí en Puerto Rico y de ahí me hacía un viaje a los Estados Unidos para buscar su futuro como un artista de pelo.
Well, I was born in Puerto Rico.
Subtitles, please.
I can tell my story. I got it.
All right, so let's go. Backstory, but what I want to hear from you is money. Okay, just the idea of what your parents did for a living, what that background was, entrepreneurism, production, like how your parents made money and how, just kind of that. I'm going to kind of bounce this through with all of you as a group. We're going to have this back and forth. This will make sense by the time we're done. As you're listening, I want you to hear into the stories and recognize where you came from has an impact on how you see your business side of running your hair business. So here we go. We're coming back over to Puerto Rico. Let's go. What do you got? What do you got for us? Give us the backstory in 3 minutes, 4 minutes or so here of money and being raised in Puerto Rico.
So my parents were both born in Puerto Rico, and neither one of my parents really came from a lot of money. It's just a poor country in general. And my mom is one of 4 or 5 kids. So there's just not a lot to go around. Her and my dad got married pretty young, early 20s. And from there, my dad he works for American Airlines. He's worked for them for about 25, like a long time. It's been 25.
Is your dad a pilot?
No, he's actually the supervisor of the airport in St. Louis.
Oh,
so
wow.
any shit goes sideways, it goes straight to my dad.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's why I like to fly so much. So when I was 2, we actually moved to Texas. And at that point, there's 2 kids, myself and my older brother. And my mom was actually a stay-at-home mom. Well, like I said, they didn't really have a lot of money. So my dad worked at American Airlines during the day, and then he worked another job overnight. So sleep wasn't really a thing, but at that point, my dad did whatever he had to do to produce for us kids and take care of us, and for my mom to be able to stay at home and take care of us as well. So that went on for, years. He worked literally daytime one job, nighttime another. So then fast forward about 10 years later, he obviously was not doing that anymore. He was just at American Airlines, and he actually moved to St. Louis, Missouri about, I want to say a few months before we did. So we got our first big home, and we really settled in at that point. And my mom still stayed home for a little bit to take care of us, and then she started to go back to work. She's a daycare teacher. She's now since retired. She's very happy about that. But she is a carer of people and humans, and she's one of those people that her energy just brings everybody else to her. So being able to take care of 16 2.5-year-olds every day for it's well over 10 years she loved the shit out of it. Good. It's my own personal nightmare, but she really liked it. So good for her. So my parents, I feel they never came from money, but that didn't stop them. They were always willing to do the work needed for whatever was happening at that time. So my dad working, 2 jobs day and night, it didn't matter. He didn't get a lot of sleep, but his family was still provided for, and that's what mattered. So that's where I come from.
Well, it sounds like to me I'm now getting not only the understanding from last week's show about why you read so many books and why you had all your books shipped here across the country, but also where the work ethic comes from, because you obviously were demonstrating, you saw that from your parents when it comes to work, which is the only thing that actually makes power into play with profit is the willingness to do work. Okay, cool. So we got our story here, starting with Coach Johnny. Coach Val, we're going to come all the way to the other side. And you're going to throw it down for us here. What do you got? Remember, your microphone's here and your camera's over here. So if you want to, do a little googly eyes for your viewers on Facebook, on YouTube, and all of our video assets, just know that you're over there. But either way, talk to me here. Your family growing up, we just heard the Puerto Rican story. You are not Puerto Rican. Where are you actually from? What is your
Mexican on the
Your
inside?
legs look Puerto Rican right now.
I'm the darkest one in the room, you guys.
You do look a little Puerto Rican. You got a little Puerto
I'm
Rican.
just white. I don't know where I come from.
You have no idea where where do your ancestors come from?
what's your background?
I feel like everyone says this. I know we have American Indian in us, but I think it's super, super small. But that's I
the
feel
tan.
I think everyone's always I got an Indian in me too. So I feel dumb claiming it because then they'll be like, shut up, white girl. So I'll just stay in my lane.
$10 says someone's going to be super offended by these comments.
That's good. That's good. Well, hey, listen, if you can claim a little Indian, you got it. It's fantastic. All right, Kate, so regardless of whether we got some American Indian in you or not, talk to us about the backstory. Mom and dad making money, growing up. You got 3 minutes. Off you go.
I could say it in 30 seconds.
All right. Well, give it to us in 30 seconds.
My mom and dad both worked my whole life. So my dad's a cop and my mom is a teacher. So my mom is never a stay-at-home mom. That's good for everybody. She wouldn't have liked it. I wouldn't have liked it. And my dad always worked. So he was like a cop, but then he would take on special projects. So same thing like Ani's dad. He would do stuff at night and do undercover stuff. And he was gone a lot, but We didn't move. We didn't do anything exciting like you did. We just stayed the same.
Stay the same. So we have the same thing. And economically, I'm going to come back to you on the same thing. Like, describe your economic. Like, what did the economics look like for you growing up?
Super middle class. I would say like low middle class. Like we went to private school. We went on like one family vacation a year, and then there was like no extra spending.
So could you go to mom and dad and say, hey, I need $100?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
15?
No.
10.
No, we didn't even get allowance. We did
Okay.
chores, but no allowance.
Yeah, that's how like real families are built. On my side, our kids ask us. My daughters will ask us if they can get an allowance. Because what do they do? Wake up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I woke up. Can I
I
get
brushed
paid
my
because I
teeth.
woke up?
I'm
We're
like,
holy
oh.
shit. Okay, let's come back over to Ani. Ani, I didn't get to ask you on that same side. Talk to me about the economics of family growing up.
I feel like when we were really young and lived in Texas, it was probably like lower mid, somewhere right around there. But by the time we got to Missouri, my parents were doing better, and we were middle, upper mid class.
Okay.
So.
All right. Good. Same question. Could you go to your parents and ask for $100 and they were just like, here you go?
I could ask. My dad would be like, what the fuck? No. What do you need $100 for? If I went to my mom and be like, Mom, you should talk to Dad. And I'm screwed because they're going to listen to this for sure.
Yeah.
I'd be like, Mom, you should talk to Dad. And she'd be like, well, what's it for? Let me go talk to your father. And I might get away with like $50.
Okay.
Oh, that's
So you
generous.
pulled the Danielle then, because this is exactly
We were
what
talking
Danielle
about this
did.
yesterday on our.
All right, so give us a little roll down, throw down here on the economics. For those who are listening, you may be like, what the hell is this all? Why are you even sharing this? I will tie all this together here in a second. Give it to us,
Got to have the
Danielle.
backstory to really appreciate the full story, right?
Well done. You should
Yeah.
coach yourself on that. All right, let's go. Backstory. Give it to us.
I was raised in a very conservative state, but I would consider us to be middle upper class. I felt like we were always kind of taking care of. My parents were both entrepreneurs. My dad had his own business from the time I was tiny. Like since him and my mom got married, he started building custom homes, and he just really, that's what he did. And then my mom owned a bridal shop that was actually called Danielle's because I was clearly the favorite. Just kidding.
Clearly.
No, I think, I don't know. She just named it Danielle's. But, and then she was now she still is a real estate agent, but both of my parents are very much entrepreneurs. And I think that my mom, I always tease my parents because my mom says my dad was raised probably like lower end of the spectrum. And so my dad's always been a super hard worker and very frugal. My mom says cheap. I say, but he says frugal. And so my mom always had a desire for nice things. So she worked, I think, literally like to kind of have a little extra income to.
Little side dosh.
Yeah, a little side dosh. So anyways, but yeah, no, my parents weren't always like shelling out the money for me. Like my parents, I'd ask my dad for money and he'd say, kind of similar to Ani, he's like, no, what do you need that for? Kind of laughed me away. Like, haha, that's funny. You thought I'd give you $30. I was like, what? It's for a book, Dad. He's like,
Liar.
No, it was for a shirt, for sure. Yeah. I think he knew I was lying. That's why he always said no. And then I would go to my mom and be like, hey, Dad said you'd give me $30. My mom's like, oh, he did? Okay. And she
God,
gave me
see, I
$30.
can't play my parents against each other because my mom will easily
Oh.
go to my dad or be like, so Anian said this and that, and they'll be like, no. They're a team. They're super tight.
Wow, that
Yeah.
did not exactly happen. Danielle was like,
Well,
the
I was
queen
always trying to,
manipulator.
I was always trying to manipulate to get what I wanted, which I think is a skill. I think it's a skill. Later in life, I really do.
Yeah. Well, you ended up with me. Did you manipulate?
Yeah,
me to
I
get married?
did.
Was this a manipulation or was this
No.
like inspiration?
It was strategic seduction.
Ooh,
Yeah.
strategic seduction. Where we're gonna go today?
Oh.
Okay. All right. So we've got our backstories. I'm gonna give you the 2-minute one or less. Actually, we're gonna give you the 45-second one. My mom and dad were not entrepreneurs. My dad was raised in a military family. He traveled every year to year and a half of his entire life, so we decided to do the same thing with us. My dad could have made very good money, but he was terrified after having 5 children, which I cannot take away from him, the pressure he must have felt. So my dad went for salary, and we never had any money. And my dad was gone all the time. And my mom had to figure out how to take care of all of his kids while not having money. There were 5 children, and so we lived on cornbread, powdered milk, and homemade bread. Literally, that's what I remember eating all the time. Never felt like I didn't have any money. Never felt like I needed more. Never even knew it was an option. Had no concept of business, had no concept. Just, I was on the path, go to school, get a job, and be done. So I didn't even end up on the path like, maybe some of you did with your pursuit of art and hair and, being artists. I wasn't even necessarily an artist. I just kind of was on this game of, I guess you just get a job, and when you get done with your job or go to school, you get done with the school, you get a job, and I don't know what the fuck you do next. Like, you get married, you have some kids, and you kind of repeat the cycle. So we here at BMS are really changing the script, not only on the way that you deal with the conversation of money, but also the way that you deal with your view of money inside the industry of making hair. So we're going to come to a new topic. We're going to start with the last one. Well, last shall be first. First shall be last. You're welcome. Thanks, Deb. Deb was my mom. Gave me a little quote on that when I was growing up.
I was like, I am not Deb.
Nope, you are not Deb.
You looked at me when you said that.
Oh, well, I looked at you.
It's Deb.
I thought of my mom, Deb, and then I looked at you as the two greatest women in my life.
Nice.
You're welcome. All right, let's go. Danielle.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
What were you taught in hair school about business?
Excuse me, what was that word again?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, seriously. So talk about this. You're coming out of hair school, and what are you thinking when it comes to the front of the chair as a producer in business? What are the thoughts going through your mind? You other two know exactly where I'm coming at you with these same questions. So, Danielle, what are you seeing here?
Honestly, they taught you zero in hair school about business. And I never really realized like maybe the impact that probably my upbringing, how it had an effect on me, because immediately out of hair school, I remember I took one commission job and I didn't like it. I didn't like working for somebody else. I didn't like anything about it. And I got into hair thinking like I was going to be my own boss. That's literally why I got into hair, even though I wasn't taught any kind of business or skills, like anything. I just was like, oh, I want to make my own hours and be my own boss. So yeah, I kind of jumped into hair like thinking I'll just figure it out along the way, only to realize like, shit, I screwed up so many things. I probably should have been taught a little bit. Just a smidge.
Okay, so that gives it a taste for us. Let's keep rolling. Val, what was your story on this?
They taught you jack shit about business. I didn't know anything of it, and my parents weren't like entrepreneurs or anything, so I didn't have any example of it whatsoever. But same thing, like I had crappy hair, so I was always interested because I was like, if I have a good hair day, I have a good day. So I'm going to figure out how to have a good hair day every day. So that's literally what got me into hair. And then I forget what I was saying. Sorry.
It was good. It was good.
It was
like nailed it.
It was fantastic.
I was just thinking, like, coming back to it, like, did you ever want to? I never really wanted to go to college.
Yeah.
Like, I always wanted to go to hair school because I
remember going, like you said, with the freedom. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But it floated out of my head. I'm such a spaz. That's what I was getting at, is I wanted freedom. So that's why I got into the hair school thing. And I'm like, I can make my own schedule. I could just, like, be free. I just didn't want any. We grew up so structured. Everyone went to college. Everyone had a degree. Everyone worked 9 to 5. Everyone had, like, so much structure. And that's all I grew up in. And I hated it. And I was like, okay, my sister went to college. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm going to hair school. I'm, like, going to be free, set my own hours, be the spaz that I am, and live my best life.
I think that's a lot of reasons why. I don't know why you went to hair school, but literally I was like, I went to one semester of college and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? And so I jumped into hair school. And so that's why I'm like, what? There's no business taught in hair school? I mean, I didn't think that at the time, but now I'm like, wow.
Because you just thought you had to do a highlight and then you'd be rich and you got to do it on your own schedule.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, my own schedule, do highlights, make money. Go to hair school, make money. Coach Johnny, what do you got on this? What did you learn?
In hair school with business, absolutely nothing. Because literally what they teach you is you have to sit behind the chair and wait for people to walk in the door and hopefully they'll come. And you can't just go for 1 hour. You have to sit there for like 12 hours a day. They say you need to put in your time. So that's literally the only thing they teach you is just sit there and wait. And I always wanted to go to hair school, by the way. My Barbies never ended up with any hair. They got fucking scalped all the time. I would do it over the toilet. I'm like, I'm just going to give her a trim just a little. And all of a sudden she had a little nubbin left. I'm like, sorry. I'm going to put that Barbie underneath the bed so I don't get in trouble for that one later. That was my bad.
I had lots of bang cuts like that. I'm just going to say, like when I first got even out of hair school and people were like, can you trim my bangs? And I'd keep going. Then I'm like, oh.
It's called a micro bang. It'll be really popular in 20 years. Don't worry.
Those are way far above your eyebrow.
You look surprised.
I love it.
It's called a micro bang. It's fine. There's a name for it now.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so basically we can assume here then that there was literally nothing taught in business. Like, isn't it crazy that you as an artist went to school, you got trained in a method, right, which was called doing hair, the methodology of cutting, coloring, styling hair, right? Whatever that was, probably spent half your time with curler sets and dealing with old ladies that came in on Thursdays for free. But whatever the case was, you got out of hair school, and then you went off into the game. And the first decision that you had to make was, do I go work commission? Do I go work booth rent? Let's start there on this topic, because this is kind of where the paths begin, and there's not necessarily a right or wrong path. The truth is, there are some individuals who going booth rent is probably the worst thing they could do, and there's some that going the opposite direction and going commission would probably be the worst thing that they could do. So let's just have a little discussion here. I'm going to come to Ani first. Ani, give it to us here. What are your thoughts here? These are kind of the decisions given out of hair school, and really the decision faced day to day for most artists is go commission or kind of run their own thing.
So when I got out of hair school, I did go into a commission salon because booth rent, well, it comes out every single week. And when you have no clients, it's really hard to pay booth rent. Turns out you can't really do it. But I was in a big salon where there were so many other stylists, and I would see the other stylists being booth rent. And I'm like, wait, you get to come and go as you please? You're going on vacation for how? Wait, you get to leave again? I'm like, what the? I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, that's what I want. And that's what kept pushing me, because I'm like, I want to be able to like travel and leave. Wait, you don't have a boss? This is fucking crazy. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, game changer. How do I do that?
Right. I remember when I first got doing hair, I remember I moved to actually Las Vegas, Nevada. Don't know if you did a hair there. I've done hair in so many different states. I remember moving there, and I think I went commission for literally 2 days, and that same experience happened, and like my boss made me sit there all day, and I don't think I had any clients for the first few days, and then I'm like, oh, but you do booth rent, right? And they were like, yeah. And so I went over I was like, I wonder, Sally Sue's booth rent, she's not here on like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Guaranteed I could split a booth with her. Like I was always trying to finagle.
Yeah.
You're a hustler.
That's just like that's how I am. But I remember I went up to Sally Sue and I'm like, Sally, how much are you paying for rent? She told me, and then I was like, we should split that. And if they don't like it, like we're both like out of there. And she's like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to leave, but I'll split it with you. And so we approached the owner, and I'm like, hey, I want to stay here, but can I split the booth rent? And when I went into that mindset and I was like, I'm going to do booth rent and work here, I kind of like started to go, my mind started to think like, crap, I got to get leads. I got to think through this different. I have to operate like I wanted to make my own schedule and do my own thing. I'm going to have to like figure out how to get clients in the door and make this happen for myself.
And it takes a lot of discipline when you go booth rent, because it's very easy to have the freedom knowing
to leave. Yeah.
You can do whatever the fuck you want, whenever you want.
Oh.
So, and I think that's why booth rent doesn't work for so many stylists who are those super free-spirited.
Sally Sue, it didn't work for her. That's why I offered to split, because I was like, listen, I'm going to cut your booth rent in half, because clearly you're never here, and
So,
really doing you a favor.
You're welcome.
Val, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, mine's like Danielle. I assisted. I reached out to a lady. It was actually Ryan's hairstylist. Ryan got me my first hairstyling job. So I assisted her, but same thing for like a week. And then one of her stylists left, and I was like, knowing that the owner was like out of booth renter. And I was like, how much is booth rent? And then I figured it out, and I'm like, well,
Doing
can
the
I?
numbers?
Yeah, so I was like, can I rent her booth? She's like, you're like a week out of school. And I was like, it literally was like what other people were charging. It would have been like 3 colors. And I was
Yeah.
like, get 3 colors in. And I was like, I'll just charge more. I'll do 2 colors.
Yeah.
And I'll charge high. And they're like, you can't fucking charge high when you're just out of school. I'm like, watch me. And that's what I did. I started, and which was helpful because I didn't have to worry about price raises for a
Right.
long time. People would be like sweating. I'm like, my prices are still higher than yours. So I'm not worrying about the price raise yet. But that's literally like I assisted for like a week.
Yeah.
And I still would like watch her, but she wasn't a very good teacher. And I would watch the successful people in the salon and learn from them and ask questions, like the people who were busy. And then I just like started my prices high, and I'm like, I just got to get 2 colors in. A whole week, get 2 colors in. And then when stylists were busy, I'm like, hey, I'll help you out. You want me to take care of that client for you? So same thing, hustler and like finagling so that I could have
Finagle.
that free schedule.
So
which
we have.
bit me in the ass later.
So you built the game. You guys all built your game from different places. You all hustled to get where you are. You all hustled and moved through everybody's had to go through commission, go through the booth rent, go back to commission, go to booth rent, and you finally find your sweet spot in the game. But across the board, the one thing that you needed to have across this whole game was the understanding of marketing. But nobody ever actually, nobody labels it this game of marketing. So we're going to talk about this before we even get to the marketing and we get to the sales and we get to the ultimate game of not being a savior inside of your salon. We're going to start with this idea, though, of in front of the chair versus behind the chair. Danielle, I'm going to come to you on this one. Talk to me about this. We reference this inside of BMS. For those that are watching the video, the goddamn cameras are all over the place. So, I'm trying to figure out the clicker here. It's not working. So if you're getting random angles and weird headshots of Val
welcome.
from the side, you're welcome. So if you're on audio, you have no idea what we're talking about. So Danielle, talk to me about this whole front of the chair versus back of the chair commitment as an artist, because that'll set us up to be able to have a talk about marketing.
Well, honestly, it's like you need the skills behind the chair, obviously, because you have to be confident in what you're offering people in order to sell it. We always refer to the front of the chair as your business and marketing. You can't necessarily get clients in the door if you don't know how to market to get the right client in the door. And so that's just kind of like the concepts we talk about when we talk about like in front of the chair and behind the chair. And I think forever, I know I've told this story before, but like when I jumped into hair, I wanted the freedom, but I never really considered myself a businesswoman. That was like a hobby to me,
Yeah.
And so I was doing things that, like to try to be a hustler and manipulate, but just to create freedom. And then I realized I was like, oh, those are actually like, I could apply those to kind of be more strategic about it. And like, those are technically business skills, So I think that there's people in our industry that we are natural finaglers. And if you can figure out why you're good at like converting mindset, or why that kind of becomes your business, and then you have to kind of organize it. So I just think that we're often taught all the skill sets, but then so many people just kind of, I've worked at so many salons, even here in California. I thought when I moved to California, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be so different. I'm going to be working with California stylists. It's going to be amazing. They're just going to be like so busy. I'm not even know what to do. And I remember the first salon I went to, I was surprised how quickly I built and how people were still sitting around. Still. And I was like, okay, I went to hair school forever ago, and I had this story about California, and yet in our industry, the same shit is still being taught, and people are still doing the same fucking thing. I'm like mind boggled that they're just sitting around. Even with like so much social media that's out, so much education that's out, there's still people just sitting.
And I think my big thing was whenever it came to like wanting more and to do more, there was a stylist I used to work beside, because at this point I was actually renting my own studio suite, and she'd been doing hair, literally for as long as I had been alive. And I remember when the time came for taxes, we ended up on the topic of that, and she's like, oh fuck, I'm like 30,000 behind. I'm like, what how did that happen? She's like, because I just didn't make enough and I needed to use it. And that always resonated with me was, oh my God, she's literally been doing hair since before I was born, and she's still in struggle central because she doesn't have any more, there's no marketing behind it. There's no business. She comes in, does a million clients, even like a cap highlight to this day, because she's like, you have to do everything. I'm like, that doesn't, but
it's
that's
like a
not
9 to 5
working.
job.
Oh, it was 10, 12 hour days.
But worse, because she's trying to be her own business manager, but she doesn't know how to do that. So she's actually 30,000 behind.
Yeah. She was doing 3 clients at one time, by the way. So it's not like she wasn't hustling. She was doing a lot of work, but even then it wasn't enough.
Right.
Ooh. So Val, I'm going to come to you.
All right.
With the principle. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. So we've taught, when we launched Big Money Stylist, we launched off of a backbone of a series of principles. We're going to get his marketing idea here in a second. But one of the lies, which you guys were uncovering right now, one of the big lies inside the game is that working more equals more money. Okay, now Val's going to talk about this, but Coach Ani was just demonstrating this with, what was her name? Crazy Betty?
Yeah. We're gonna
Crazy Betty.
Sally
Sue and Crazy Betty. We're going Crazy Betty and Sally Sue. So Val, I'm going to come to you. Working more equals more money in the hair industry. This is a lie. Why? Off you go.
Yeah, absolutely a lie. I was working 6 days a week and would get home like at midnight.
Oh.
Crazy. I would start at like 8 or 9 in the morning, and I would make like $4,500 a month.
Shut
Yes,
up.
it was insane. And then now I work 3 days a week. I don't even want to say what my last paycheck was.
Say it.
Should I say it?
Say it.
It was $23,000.
Yeah.
Damn, I want to work for you.
Okay, so Danielle, I'm going to come to you. This is a second line. Now, the truth inside of this is that working more leads to burnout.
It's true.
But like, talk about why actually working less will create more for you.
So every artist has been in this phase, and I don't care how long you've been doing hair or how good you are.
And let me take that back. It's not working less, working smarter. Working smarter equals more money versus just working more equals more money.
I saw a cycle in myself. I saw a cycle because I'd moved to I'd moved so much in my career, and I saw this cycle: build up, burn out, build up, burn out, build up, burn out. And I was like, okay, this build up and burn out game is stupid. It's stupid. And so I would try to.
No, don't look at this.
Oh,
I'm showing
sorry,
Anya on something. You just keep going.
Well, you can't distract me like that.
All right, don't be distracted.
But so my phase was always like, I'd love hair and I'd get into it and I'd be working, and then I would build up to where I'd burn out, and I was like, I fucking hate doing hair. And I felt like I was a good hairstylist, but my work quality started to go down because I was trying to make more money.
Yeah.
And so I would look at my work, and I literally would look at the client, and even though I didn't like the work, like it was kind of subpar, instead of taking accountability for myself, I would look at the client and be like, bitch, you're not paying me enough. And shame on me. Like, really? Like, I remember, and then when I sat back and I looked at it, and I was like it was almost like somebody just kicked me in the face, and they're like, why don't you charge more? Maybe your work will go up. And I was like, charge more? Charge more, your work will go up? No. And so it was weird because I was in this game where for the first time, it wasn't, because I'd moved so much, it was just like, oh, just build up and burn and build up, and so now it was at this place where I'm like, I can't do that anymore. I can't keep like doing that cycle where I like love hair and then I hate hair and then I love hair and then I hate hair. And so I was like, I've got to figure out how to charge more and tell myself, like, this is the amount of clients that I want to do. These are the amount of hours I want to work. And when I get to this point where I need to increase my prices, then I do, because I'm not willing to work this many days, or I'm only willing to work this many days and this many hours. And I'm not going to say it's still to this day, it's still hard. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's still hard. Like, you connect to your clients and you love them, but it gets to the point where you're like, nope, I value my time. I'm running a business and this is how I have to do it. And so for me, there's this whole mindset, like with stylists, is it's hard to say no to money. And I even get sucked into that. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, just one more MBR client. And Val knows, like, I'll do it, and it'll be like the end of the day, because I used to work a lot, and I get out of the salon like 8 o'clock at night. Now I get out at like 4, and Val knows, like, there's times where I'll keep myself there till like 6:30, and she looks at me and she's like, oh, long day for you, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I hate that. Why do I want to? I hate that. I know my sweet spot. And when I get to that place, I'm like, okay, well, it's time to not try to cater to everybody. And that even goes on the hair extension scale, and it even goes on MBR. Like, I don't need to cater to everybody. I don't need to, because I have my niche. Like, I've got a full book of business based on what I want to work. So now it's like I can only cater to so many clients. And so this mindset of, like, I don't know why stylists they'd rather burn themselves out than raise their fucking prices. And it's just like, when you experience it, like when you get to that place and you're like, oh, like, now I'm like, how did I do that? What?
I think it's so inspiring, though, that you did it without anyone telling you to. For, like, me and, like, everyone who's in the BMS tribe, you've literally been the person to, like, give us permission to do that. And then it doesn't seem as scary for us. It's still scary, but there's a sense of, like, normalcy to it. I think so many stylists are stuck out there, and they want more, but they don't even know what that looks like or how to get there. And you've so led the way in that, like, find a niche. Get good at something. We're doing the marketing thing. Mm-hmm. You can say no. You can value your time. And then it's like this whole new world has opened up, and I'm literally watching this, like, revolution happen. Mm-hmm. And I'm so proud. And I'm, like, so honored to be, like, a part of it, but so thankful to you that, like, you listen to that voice inside you, and you figured it out, and you're, like, sharing it with other people. It's so awesome. But man, I think people just didn't know what to do.
I think part of me too is, like, I always wanted to be a mom. Like, and so for me, when I was, like, working these crazy hours and I couldn't see my kids, I was like, why did I have kids? Like, I want to actually spend time with them, I'm like,
for sure.
Why? And so for me, that was enough for me to be like, no, I'm not going to do it. And even if you don't have kids, I mean, like, I don't know. I can't speak because I mean, you don't have kids, but I'm sure you don't want to work 12-hour days.
I know I don't want to work 12-hour days because I used to work 12-hour days just like Val. It was 6 days a week, 12-hour days. And at the end of the month, I was making like $4,000. And so I would look at it and I'm like, I'm fucking exhausted. I am so tired. I'm wiped out. I have no time to do anything on the weekend. It's like the day off I would have, I would nap and sleep and eat because I had to recover for the next 6 days.
Right.
And then when I came to BMS, that just changed everything for me. And a year and a half later, I was working 3 days a week, 3 clients a day, 9 hours a day. And my income was just, it's just not even in the same level anymore.
We actually have a quote by Anian Rivera, long before she was a coach. She was a graduate from BMS 1, Big Money Stylist 1. If you have not seen our movie and documentary found at bigmoneystylist.com, I would encourage you as a listener and or watcher here of this particular podcast and show to head on over to bigmoneystylist.com. Give yourself a chance to enjoy some of the results with hundreds of clients and our artists just like you all over the world who have begun their journey down the path of actually liberating themselves, working less and making more, and learning how to figure out how to get paid celebrity stylist pay without having to live in LA. Here was a quote. Quote, a friend of mine worked for 12 hours doing kids cuts and made $250. I worked for 3 hours and made $1,200. Work smart, not hard.
I feel like we should have a mic drop on that one.
Yeah. So I'm going to come back over here to Ani real quick on this one. Ani, what, this whole idea, the truth that we're really speaking to here is that working a niche leads to big money, right? So it's not only not working out, working more, but there's actually a niche inside of this. It's beyond just working smart. That one of the smart ways we teach here at Big Money Stylist is to actually niche down. Talk to me a little bit about what does that actually mean to you? This idea of actually, as an artist, picking a niche and then going deep.
Well, and I think it's one of those things because we are taught you have to take every single service and go with it and appease as many people as you can. You kind of just get lost along the way because you're doing everything. Once you actually find a niche and you start doing that one thing specifically, you're working towards a much more specific goal. You're trying to become, for me, it was NBR. The minute I heard about it, I was like, this is crazy, but I'm all in. I'm doing it, whatever. And I started to practice that more and more and then work on color and just want to get better at that one thing. And then the more results that I saw that it was actually changing my income and I was working less and having more time where I wasn't spending my one day off napping because I was so exhausted, I was like, oh my God, like it was a game changer. But I realized like I even had a perm that I used to do before I did NBR.
Geez.
Like that's what I'm saying. I had every service.
Do you have photos of these perms?
Wait. Quick question, Ani.
Yeah.
If you were going to a doctor for something, say you wanted, I'm not saying you want this, but say you wanted an eye job or like
A boob
eye
job?
job?
I was going to say boob job, and then I was like, well, just anything.
I don't need one.
No, I don't want to offend you. But would you would you just go to like a general doctor or
Well,
somebody
on the topic.
who did all, or would you go to somebody who their niche was eye sockets? No.
Exactly. It's like going to a tattoo artist. I'm not going to go to a tattoo artist that does tattoos and then he does piercings, then he sells shoes on the side. I don't fucking know. I don't know why I thought of that. But I want a tattoo artist who only does tattoos.
You get a twofer.
2 for 1. Yeah, it's great. But like I want someone who does something very specific because at that point when that's their niche, they're good at that one fucking thing. That one thing because that's what they've worked on forever.
It's their craft.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Know your craft. Work smarter, not harder.
And apparently Ani needs a boob job, so thanks for that.
No, I said an eye socket.
And if you work your
It's a
niche,
super common procedure all these days.
Obviously.
Everyone in Orange County has an eye socket job. Okay, shit.
Some are bigger than others.
oh, that was one of those lulls in this show. We ended on the eye socket job for Ani. Okay, so we're going to keep moving on. Here's another one. Here's another lie. We're going to end on this lie, and then we're going to spin this into why marketing matters. And I'm actually going to come Donnie on this one. Here it is. Getting more clients at your current level equals more money. So this whole idea that getting more, like just getting more of what your current old client base looks like, the current clients that you work with, just getting more will equal more money. Coming to you, Coach Ani, why is this a lie?
Oh, that's complete crap because you have to think the clients in your life currently, they give you a value. What they don't have to say it out loud, but in their head, when they come to the salon, they're like, okay, I will pay $60 for my color, no more, and then I'll pay an extra $20 for a haircut and a blow dry. It has to be blow dry too. And so when you go to them and you're like, okay, hey, so your color was $60, now it's $100, they already have it in their head, well, fuck you, I'm not paying that. You're worth $60. They will not be able to rise with you and change with you and see that you have more value because they have forever stuck to that same price point. It's hard for them to move forward, even if you're trying to do that. It just doesn't work. So I'm not saying fuck it, burn it all and get rid of all your clients, but attracting new clients at a higher price point where that's all that they know is it's just better for your business, and it's easier than trying to convince someone and beg them and just have to harass them into paying a higher price when all they're going to do is bitch and moan later.
I find too, like, I think oftentimes hairstylists are kind of scared to say it's more because of their fear of not being able to market and get a new client in the door. So their standard is lower because they don't believe in themselves on that level. They may believe on themselves at the level of their art, but because they weren't taught any business, they're scared. And that's the problem in our industry, is because they're not taught this. They're scared that they are not going to be able to get somebody new in the chair to pay that new price point. And I will touch base too and say I've had many clients that have kind of grown with me, you know, and they see me updating the salon. They see me go like teaching. They see I'm learning and growing too. And so they kind of know, like they kind of appreciate it. And I'm like, hey, this is the new price point. And they're like, okay, you know what I mean? And then there's some that are like, they can't, in their mind, they can't justify it. And it's like, I'm always like cordial about it. And I used to be like bugged, and now I'm just like, hey, you know, it's fine. Like I'm running a business, and I'm happy to give you a referral somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be awkward. I think also too that the stylists and maybe women in general, not in general, I shouldn't say in general, but we don't like confrontation because we don't consider ourselves business women. And so we consider raising our prices or talking to the client that way is creating confrontation.
Well, and I think stylists view it as, well, I love my job. I love doing it. It's so much fun. So I really shouldn't charge that much for it because I love doing it. Okay, well, you can have a heart and soul passion, still get paid for it. Yeah. And really, if that's your niche and if that's the one thing you love doing, shouldn't you be paid more to do it because you love it? And I feel like it's even like mechanics. Even they do their job pretty quick. Getting an oil change is, $100 or whatever it is. Even if they do it in 10 minutes or 60 minutes, you're still getting charged that amount. Right. It is what it is. But I feel artists, we don't really value ourselves. And we say, well, I love it and I love them. And Danielle's so nice to me. And I know her kids and her husband. And I'll just give her a discount. She didn't even ask for a fucking discount, but you're still giving it. And that's the mentality.
I was going to say, that's what's funny is people... And I am guilty of it too at times where like my clients were like, well, I took $10 off because I like you today.
You were extra funny, that joke you told me.
That you like my kids.
Your pants are cute. $5 off.
Well, Val, what are you seeing on this idea? One of the things Danielle says is I know we teach inside of Big Money Stylist is that literally every 2 to 3 years are going to turn over 80% of your client base.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this and why, like, actually?
Yeah, some of your clients will grow with you. Like you said, they'll appreciate, they'll see that you're growing, what you're doing, and they'll grow with you. But those are kind of few and far between. They'll fall off after a while. And that's why you got to keep your marketing strong so you can always keep attracting your new clientele at your new level, at your new price. But I know for me, like, it wasn't my skill level. It was the scarcity of like getting new people in because I didn't understand the marketing standpoint. So even when I was pregnant and I would go on maternity leaves, I would go on a maternity leave for a freaking week. And then I would be back in the salon because I'm like, I can't lose a client. Yeah. Like how would I had no game plan of like, if I lost a client, how I would get a new one in there. So I had to keep my current full clientele full. I couldn't like lose anyone. So I would be back in the salon, like still with my diaper from the freaking hospital. Just had a baby, but I'm going to do your highlights because I can't have anyone drop off because there was nothing in my mind telling me like I needed to market to get new clients to come in. Like I was just like coming from a place of scarcity always.
I Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one thing with extension clients that I noticed over the years. I know a lot of people don't want to get into hair extensions because it's considered a high maintenance clients, or they're like, oh, I don't like how extensions look, or those clients are needy. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm all of those things because I wear extensions. But I realize too, like, I'm like, if I'm willing to like travel, if I'm willing to like do these things, if I'm willing to like wait an extra 6 weeks for if my hairstylist had a baby and whatnot, like hair extensions is a different game where like. I'm like, I can't go without my hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so I noticed that right away with my hair extension clients, and having that niche is like, you're like, I'm going to take a break and I'll like that. It is what it is. And I know you're going to be here when I get back. 'Cause if not, you're going to have no hair, 'cause that's how hair extensions are.
And I think with what Val said, that she still went back to the salon, even in her baby diaper, whatever it was, that it kind of puts
You'll see.
I'm sorry, as of right now, no, that's not open for business over here, but thank you for that. But even that puts it in perspective that you think as a stylist, like my clients love me. I mean so much to them, but Val can't even take a freaking couple of weeks off to not have to wear an adult diaper because she just had a baby.
I was thinking like you wore a diaper because you couldn't take like pee breaks. I was like, man, you work committed.
I'm a hustler.
I just have a cat.
I thought it was more so like downstairs problems from popping a human out, but it's fine.
The sad thing is you haven't had a kid and Danielle's had two, and you made the connection.
Yeah, no, not me. I was like, you can't take pee breaks.
That's so serious.
You work committed.
Danielle, if you want somebody to memorize the word Roosevelt, what suggestion would you give
just
them to?
remember the word Roosevelt.
Oh, I got it. It's sticking now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay?
Thank you for that.
Just think Roosevelt.
This is why we come. Okay, so we're gonna take this in our last like 10 minutes here of the show. We're gonna loop this back around to this idea of marketing, right? So and this premise that marketing is actually the one skill that matters more than anything else inside of running a successful hair business. And so we're going to define what that is, because both the lies that we discussed today and the truths that back them demand that you're able to market. Hence one of the reasons why the primary focus inside of Natural Be to Rose and the Big Money Sales programs and training systems in our mastermind is about leveling up not only your skills behind the chair with Natural Be to Rose, but also being able to level up your skills in the front of the chair when it comes to marketing, sales, and systems. Now, Danielle, I'm going to come to you on this. I'm going to start with you out of the gate. Marketing was not actually something that you were real fond of. You were a hustler and always got business. But talk about like when marketing as an idea, what it is and why it became such a big focus for you. Now you're
I think
ridiculous
I'm naturally, I guess, a hustler, I guess you would say. I'm always like thinking like, how can I finagle this and get this? How can I get there? How do I get from A to Z quicker? You know what I mean? That's just how like my mind operates. I'm always trying to problem solve and things like that. And I think in the beginning, because I'm more artistic and I never really think of myself as technical, but over the years I've had to give myself credit that I am somewhat technical. But I would look at marketing, like if somebody, would tell me, oh, you need to become business, you need to become a marketer. I would kind of think of it as like techie, like I need to be like tech savvy and like I need to have like a business degree. And I was like, oh God, that sounds so boring. I'm definitely not techie, and I'm for sure not a business manager in any way, shape, or form. And so I automatically was like, nope, that's not me. But what I didn't realize is like the whole concept of like a marketer is somebody who knows how to project a message, I guess you could say. And I know one thing that I felt like I was good at is if I believed in something, I could sell it. I could sell it to anybody. I noticed I did referrals really, really well. Like I could get referrals. It was just like getting a few in the door. And then I really relied on the whole referral game. Like I was like, that's my jam. But then because we moved so much, I had to, I was like, gosh, I need to focus more on this whole marketing concept, because it was no longer, when I started my brand, it was no longer like, hey, I just need to get clients in the chair for me. It was like, I have a vision and where I want to go. And so I got to get the word out there even more. And so what I started doing as far as me, like jumping into marketing, I was like, I started paying attention to what sold me. Like I would get online every day and I refer to it as like the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But like I started to pay attention. What pictures, like what was I liking? What did I like on Pinterest? And before Instagram, Pinterest was around, and you'd click on a pretty picture. Next thing you know, you're on like 17 blogs.
I know.
Literally, you're like, whoa. And then I'm like, and I got a pair of shoes, some clip-ins. I don't even know. It's just, so I started I've always been one that likes buying shit too. Like
No.
easily sold. I like selling and I'm easily sold. So like I'd find myself in this web down this rabbit hole. And when I was like, okay, I got to be a marketer. I got to become a marketer. The first like thing I thought to myself is, well, what compels me to buy? And so I started to try to like pay attention to what people were saying. Why did I like them? What were they doing? How did their pictures look? How did it lead me down this trail? And I literally would wake up every morning and my goal was like self-educate myself on try to become a better marketer. And I'd get the kids up. I'd get them off to school. Like my little baby was like a year old at the time. She'd just run around and chew on toys and shit. And I would just like sit on the computer for an hour. And I started like screenshotting and taking notes and like everything and anything I could do. And I would tell Garrett, he'd be like, "Are you shopping?" I was like, "It's market research." Because I would always go to Garrett.
Bag might be a perk from this research.
Yeah.
Might
No,
have
it-
might
sadly-
have gotten sucked down the rabbit hole.
Sadly, back
Down
then,
it.
I didn't have any money, so I would just drool over bags, and that was the first time I was like, oh my God, people pay $2,000 for a bag? What is wrong with them? But anyways, I just started paying attention what sold me, what compelled me, and I started just trying to take inspiration and try to figure out how to communicate a message in which something I was already passionate, which was hair extensions. I felt like I created this solution. So now I had to figure out how to put my message out on the marketplace. And I was like, well, people are on YouTube, people are on Pinterest, people have blogs. And I just kind of like dove in, and then it like just kept going from there. I was like, oh, I need to have a call to action. Like you can't just like put a video out there and be like, okay, hope you find me. Like I started having to be a little bit strategic. And I think you kind of taught me that, Garrett, actually, because I was doing all this work and you're like, why don't you just tell them to go check out your blog? Or why don't you just tell them to book an appointment? I'm like, oh no, you can't do that.
Too direct. I can't be a bitch.
Super direct. They'll be like, she's just trying to sell me shit. So anyways, that was kind of like how I kind of reframed my mind to something that I was already doing, which was I naturally can sell something I believe in. I'm already going down the rabbit hole. Like I guarantee you every girl at night after their kids in bed or they're on Instagram or Facebook or something and they're being sucked into somebody's rabbit hole. Like we're all doing that, but it's just like, are you a consumer or are you a marketer? And if you can shift your mind to be both, like that's going to help you become a better marketer.
And Coach Ani, tell me a little bit about what you've seen happen with our artists. You saw this happen with yourself too, about what happens inside of particularly with the unique niche with natural beaded rose, the higher margins, moving into extensions. What happens in your world as you've watched artists rise as marketers as well as being master craftsmen or artisans at what they do with the hair experience?
Well, I think the biggest thing is when they first come to BMS, they're just honestly so stressed out because they're working a ton of hours, they're not making a lot of money, and they're at just kind of the burnout phase. They literally don't know what to do. And I think that's not a really good point to be at, but you're sink or swim at that point. You either start doing something different or you're just going to end up not doing hair at one point. So once they really say, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to do it, let it be. That's what I did. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out because I don't like where I'm at and I refuse to stay here. So when the artists really like commit and they say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make it work no matter what, they start seeing results slowly. And then the more they see the results, the more they start trusting the process because they see we're not just blowing smoke up your ass. There's a reason we do this because it actually does work. And then I had one girl who actually texted me, one of our students, and she was like, Ani, I just want you to know, because she texted me in October, she goes, this October, I made double the amount of money I made last October. And then her sweet partner, she's like, I made $10,000 more this October than I did last October. And that's in 1 month. In 1 year, they were able to double the income of a month. That's insane. Like no one can do that. But this is what we're teaching our students, and that's why I believe in it so much because I saw what it did for me. And I'm not just like a one-off, like she got lucky, which
right.
FYI, I feel the need to address. I also did not do this in Laguna. I did this in St. Louis, Missouri. So it's not just because I was here in LA or Orange County that I was able to be successful because I wasn't. So the students now, we see their success as well, which is just proving that what we do and teach them, it works every time.
That's what's so
Coach
great
Hal,
about
keep going
it.
with this.
Yeah, what's so great is like Danielle was going through it and trying to figure it out. And yes, she had Garrett like guiding her along and using his expertise. But now all these people get to see tons and tons of case studies of it working. It worked on Danielle. It worked on me. It worked on Coach Ani, all in very different situations. And then now we have so many students who have come through the program, and it's worked. And what it's done is it's given everyone this freedom back, this before that what they went into it for originally. We went into it for the art, the freedom, all of this, and along the lines we lost it. And then now you get it back. So marketing might make you squirm at first, because I know it did for me. Like, I'm not a marketer. I'm an artist, okay? I'm a free spirit. I'm not a businesswoman. I don't do numbers. But now, like, I like it because it's given me that freedom back, that freedom to be the artist in the chair and love my job and have that creativity again, and not coming from a place of scarcity. Like, I'm not scared anymore. I know that this method is tried and true. I know I'm going to get results. So no matter if there's a divorce on the horizon, if there's a job loss, if there's anything, I can handle it because I have a freaking game plan that I know is going to work. And that gives me all the freedom in the world. And same thing for positivity, stuff that's going good. It can only get better because of this amazing marketing game plan married up with our niche of NBR. It's just like, it's unbelievable to me.
If you become a good marketer, you'll become better at your craft because you're less scarce, and therefore you can kind of set your pricing what you want it to be and just become really good and better.
Danielle, go ahead.
Well, I remember when my marketing it finally kicked in. Like, I had my website and I was solely NBR. And I remember thinking, God, I am so sick of working Saturdays. And at this point, Val had just stopped working Saturdays, because I know you didn't work Saturdays. And then Val stopped. And before I was like, well, I have to work a Saturday. I'm a hairstylist. We just do. And then I remember Val posting saying, oh, I'm not doing Saturdays. And I'm like, oh,
you need permission.
I'm like, what she's not doing Saturdays. I'm like, well, I don't have to do Saturdays. And I'm like, I don't have to do Saturdays. I'm like, oh shit, this is happening. And I remember cutting them out, being like, you did it. And for the first month, I was like, I'm going to throw up. I should be at the salon. And then I'm like, no, this is great.
Who made it that policy that stylists have to work Saturdays? I mean, you can't go to your dentist on Saturday. No. Like, who? What?
It just was.
No.
It's one of those unwritten rules that
I'm going to break that rule. Now.
I'm
love
also
it.
not working Saturdays.
I still see people in the game that are like catering to celebrities, working in LA, being like, oh, you have to go in on a Saturday. I'm like, what?
No.
Nope. Breaking that rule right now, setting a new standard. If you're out there and you're a hairstylist, I will give you permission right now to stop working Saturdays. And don't tell me, oh, my book is booked 6 weeks out. Trust me, I tried that. I told that to Garrett. One day I was like, I don't want to work Saturdays anymore. I was super emotional about it. He's like, then don't. Call and cancel all your clients. I was like, I can't do that. And then he gave me permission. I was like, yes, I can. I literally texted him all that day. I said, I'm no longer working Saturdays. I know you guys are booked out like 6 weeks. Here's the day that I am offering you. Let me know if it works. And every single one of them rebooked.
I did that as well. Yeah. And it was really great. I'm like, this is awesome. No more Saturdays for me.
It's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing. So.
And it's just crazy when you make that first step, because I feel like taking that initial step is what's so scary. Yeah. You're like, I can't do that. And then when someone says, well, I did it, you can do it. You're like, oh. Shit, what? Okay, I'm going to do it. And then I feel like that inspiration just continues to spiral for everybody else.
Right.
So, Danielle.
Yo.
We're going to bring you summary to this show.
Summary it up.
But you're going to bring a summary to the show.
I'm going to
the summary question is simply this. You had a vision for BMS, but you didn't even know you had a vision for BMS. You had a vision for taking Natural Beauty Rose, the hair extension method, as well married up to the business side and the movement we built here together, myself, you, Coach Ani, Coach Val, and then the hundreds of our clients and students from around North America who are part of our mastermind, the large events that we run. But this all backs up to a time when you wanted to share this and you wanted other artists to be able to see the freedom that you had experienced. Let's wrap up the show with a little reminder as to why even do all this? Why did you care about bringing this message? And even here, I mean, we sweat our asses off working on a Wednesday with training and podcasts and all this. Like, why do all this shit?
I think when I first kind of came to the solution of MBR, and I was really passionate about it working on clients, and you had crappy hair and it was great for the client. And then it was I kept coming back to things that were taught to me in my industry, and I just kept I'd write it out for a little while, working Saturdays, working 12-hour days, putting in your time, doing this, and I kept just saying no, and I kept putting my foot down, and I was like, no, until I realized, I was even as a hairdresser and a businesswoman, I could kind of create the ideal situation that I wanted to be in and that I wanted to work, and it was in that moment, I think, that I kind of was like, wow, I need to share this. And at the moment, I thought I need to share. It's all about the method. I need to share this method. It's so amazing. And I'm just in it for the method.
Which it is.
It is. It is. But what I realized is like there was such a need for just setting the bar a little bit higher and doing things a little bit different. And I felt like there was this other calling married up to the techniques and the skills of MBR. There was this other side married up to it. Like, you have no idea how much this is going to impact our industry and change the game across the board. And so I always share the story of like when it's not like I just thought that in my head. I literally felt all this love around me, and I just had this feeling like stop being selfish, because I kept being like, oh my God, like, no, it's not that big of a deal. It's not going to create that big of a wave. It's not that big of a movement. Like, I kept shrinking back and being like, no. And then like literally like a voice came to me and was like, stop being selfish. Like, you need to put this out there. You need to impact the industry. And it's not just about me, and it's not just about, it's about us. And so that's kind of like my vision of where I believe and know that this is already going and how many people it's already impacting. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I'm so excited to be a part of it now, you know? So that's kind of my vision. I don't know. I guess that's kind of the summary of the show today is set yourself up for raise your standard. You know, I mean, so many people, I think, quit hair in our industry because they have a story around it. And what if you just change your story? You might find out that there's so much more possible in this industry. And oftentimes, I think we chase one job to the next looking for the promised land, only to realize the promised land is right there if you're willing to put in the time and see it from a different perspective and change your story. So if I were to sum it up, I'd say change your story and jump on board with us.
Oh my God, I love it.
Nailed it.
Can you write a book?
Nailed that summary. Well, that brings us to conclusion here. Episode number 3, number 1 in the category and rising up the ranks across all shows in iTunes. We're so thankful for having you here. If you are an artist who are looking to take your game a lot deeper into the game of success, not only in enjoying the art again of being inside of the industry of hairstyling with a unique niche called Natural Beaded Rose, and looking to the power found in the front of the chair through a system we call Big Money Stylist. Head to bigmoneystylist.com. Check that out, and we would love to have you at one of our upcoming events, trainings, or certifications. Along with this, also, we'd encourage you to subscribe here to this show and do us a favor. Leave us a review. Leave us a review here in iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, or head on over to our blog at bigmoneystylistnow.com. Thanks so much for being here. We will see you next week as we jump into the topic of profit and the actual idea of making the money on the backside, dealing with your numbers, dealing with accounting, dealing with money, because, yes, that is something that also affects everything about your business, not only being successful today, but continuing to success in the future. So thanks so much for being here for myself and all 3 of your other hosts here at the Big Money Stylist Show. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.